So we are at the last step of the Fenix bodysuit. You have assembled the bralette, and the panty portion is pretty much all assembled except for the crotch or the gusset, which we will do that now. So the first step is we are first going to attach the panty portion to the bottom of the bralette. So in order to do that, I'm going to mark the center front right underneath the bra cups where they kiss. I'm going to mark the center front. And then let me open this, but I'll make it a little bit easier. A pin. And then I'm going to pin the bralette portion to the, I'm sorry, I'm going to pin the panty portion to the bralette portion at the bottom band. Tongue twister there. So you want the center front of the panty panel to be right underneath that pin. And then you're going to see where this naturally wants to lay. It should be about 2 inches wide. I have a ruler around my neck. Let me get it. Where'd it go? So we see here, it's about 1.5. So I would say about 1.5 to 2 inches. What you don't want is you don't want it to be like 3 inches or 4 inches wide. That means that you stretched out this pico elastic when sewing. So if that happened, try to bring it in, even if you have to raise this a little bit. You don't want the center front opening or cutout to be too wide. So I'm just going to do where it naturally wants to lay. And I'm going to overlap the bottom of the bralette with the which when I say the bottom of the bralette, I mean the band. I'm going to overlap the band on the bralette and the panty portion about 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to pin. Yeah, I'm going to pin. Now I'm going to align the side seam of the panty with the side seam of the bralette. And I'm just kind of going to eyeball it and make sure that they align. So I can see right here. Right here is the side seam of the bralette. Side seam on the panties right there. And I'm going to align them. And then I'm going to pin in between the pin at the center front cutout and the pin at the side seam. Okay. Now I'm going to pin the back. Now there is no notch of where this should go. I thought having too many markers could get confusing, but it is going to stop short of the hook and eye. So as long as you align it with the side seam and then pin it backwards, you should be okay. It will, again, stop short of the hook and eye. It should be in the general like vicinity of the strap. So I'm going to pin it there. And then I'm going to pin in between this pin and the pin at the side seam. And then I'm going to do the same for the other side. Okay, once it's pinned, I am going to sew it with a zigzag stitch. If you have a bar tack ready, you can put a bar tack at the beginning and the end just to add a little bit more security. If not, use a zigzag, but back stitch at the beginning and the end. Normally, we don't back stitch when using a zigzag stitch, but I will suggest you should do it at this step. So you'll see I'm going to start and stop with a zigzag stitch just so you can see what it looks like. But again, if you don't have it, back stitch with a zigzag. All right, so now I am finished, and let me give you a little close-up of what your should look like after that step. So you can see here, let me click all my thread tails. So I did a bar tack at the beginning, then I switched to a zigzag. My seam allowances were pressing towards the front of the bodysuit, and then I did a bar tack right at the center front cutout. Now you might be asking, why didn't I suggest using a serger to serge this like the bottom of the bralette? I found that when I serged this portion, that's just one layer of stretch mesh, the tension bunched it up. If that doesn't happen on your machine, you would rather serge it, that's fine, but I had a little bit of trouble with the serger bunching up the fabric, and then this was like too short here, so just a word, just a note. I didn't start early enough, so I'm just gonna give a little tap there. My bar tack didn't start early enough, so a little bit of my pico elastic was hanging. There was like a little lip, so just need to add that there. Alrighty, so let's now attach the gusset. Now, when we attach the gusset, I will say that this is a little bit of a mind bender, as well as a tongue twister. So I'm going to show you, and you'll just have to kind of play around with it. The first step is really easy. It's the second step. It's just like, whoa, what did you just do? Okay, so you have through the front of the gusset. Now, if you are doing the snap closure, head on over, I will put it in the link underneath this video, but head on over to the Lauren bodysuit. There is a video tutorial on how to attach this snap closure. It is exactly the same. So the method of application is 100% the same. So you can use that tutorial if you're going to attach the snap closure. I am not for this video, but again, if you are, head on over to that tutorial. Okay, so you have your main fabric and your lining fabric. Now, this might confuse some people. My main fabric and my lining fabric are the same. Someone reached out and was like, you didn't cut a lining for da-da-da. It's like, I did, but they're the same fabric, so it might not seem like it. So you should have your main fabric and your lining fabric that are block fused together, and you're going to place face down, so right sides together on the Then you're going to place your gusset, which should be like a cotton jersey, on the outer side or on the wrong side. So the right side of the cotton jersey should be facing the wrong side of the bodysuit. And now I'm going to sew it with a straight stitch. Okay, so now we're gonna flip it. Boom. Just like that. Everything's nice and neat to the wrong side. Okay, so now we're gonna, and you can see that we clean finish, quote unquote, clean finish that seam. And what I mean by that is that when I fold that back, the seam allowances are encased in the seam. So we're gonna do that same thing to the back, but it gets really, there's some origami here. Okay. So you're gonna place the right side of the back gusset against the right side of the back panty. Let me do this for you. This might be easier. So right side of the back panty, right side of the gusset. I'm going to place those right sides together. Pin it. And if this is too much for you, if after I show this, you're like, oh, I just can't do this, you could honestly just sew it with a straight stitch, serge it, or just press it to one side and top stitch it with a zigzag stitch and call it a day. But this is just a nice application. We have those pinned together. Now you have your gusset. Your gusset on the one side, the layers pin on the other side. And you're going to, ready for this? Here we go. And repin through all layers. And then you are going to sew it with a straight stitch. If you've ever seen, you might want to, if that doesn't make sense, or if you're like totally mind bended right now, you can replay it, rewind, replay it. But two, Google like this, the burrito method of how to apply a gusset to a panty, and it's the exact same thing. Spread tails, spread tails. All right, so now when I fold it out, and I twist everything to the right side, you can see that both of those seams are encased. And don't worry, like here, it's like a little bit longer there. I'm gonna clean that up in the next step. But it should look like this at the end. Okay, so the last step is to apply the fold over elastic to the leg openings. You are going to attach it the exact same way as the fold over elastic on the top of the bralettes or on the bralette, on the neckline and the armhole. The only thing I'm going to show you is a little trick for finishing the elastic, because for both of these, like this was finished into like a seam, into the hook and eye. So this is sewn in the round. So in order to finish it, we're going to overlap those, the fold over elastic. And I'm going to show you a little way to finish it that's like super clean, really professional. You'll be like, wow, I'm a legit bra maker now. So let me get to that and then you'll be finished. With the wrong side face out. And I'd like to start somewhere near the side seam. And this portion that was a little bit longer right there, I'm gonna clean that up when I sew this here. So I'll make it a nice smooth transition. Yeah. Right, I'm approaching where I started, so I'm gonna overlap them about a half of an inch or 3/4. I'm gonna bring my needle down, and then I'm going to pivot. As I put up, pivot, and I'm gonna sew forwards and backwards. And then I'm gonna trim super close to that straight stitch. And by doing that, I think I can even get it close. I can even. And then on the other side, I am going to clip this at an angle. And by doing that, those stitches kind of are like a little tiny surge that finishes it off. And then all you're gonna do is first trim these back, trim your seam allowances, and then you'll turn it back, boom, and you'll sew your second pass. Yeah, then you'll be finished. So let me do that. I'm gonna do the other side, and then I'm gonna trim it, and also the second pass. So thanks for joining this video so long for the Phoenix. I hope it was super helpful. So that you feel confident to make many other lingerie projects, whether it's Madalynne or another pattern designers. So yeah, thanks again.